Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am Robert with Sherburne Outdoors, and today we are talking Hcalory diesel heaters. It is diesel heater season. It's the beginning of November, although it's like 70 degrees outside, so we're not quite there yet, but the leaves are turning. This is actually my 5th diesel heater review of 2025 so far, so that's kind of crazy. As we get in, I'm looking forward really to it being really cold. Full disclaimer, all the products we're looking at today, Hcalory did send them to me. I did not buy them at all, but I will give an honest review on them. So a couple things. Recently, I did a review on the Toolbox MAX they just came out with. This is their flagship product from Hcalory. It's brand new for 2025's diesel heater season. It's about $300 and it is amazing. It is probably the best diesel heater I've ever seen. It's water resistant, it has zero sound, it's very fuel efficient. Here's a link to the video that I did on that. And it was just absolutely amazing. I have a link in the description as well if you want to jump over to Amazon and look at this. With that said, it's $300. It's a little bit expensive, and sometimes there's some less expensive options. And today we're going to get into the Toolbox 2, which is the little brother of the Max. Now these are not new. These were around last year. I did a review, see right here, on this, and it was very innovative when it first came out. I was a little bit blown away, but you know what? That's been a year ago, and a lot of things have happened. A lot of new brands are out, and even Hcalory is coming out with some amazing new products. But they did do a refresh on these units. They put a lot of the same guts inside of them that are available with the Max. And the one thing they did do is they have a 2S and then a 2S Plus. And the 2S Plus comes with the wireless remote that includes the temperature sensor as well as the CO sensor, which really separates them. And this with this in it is $239.99, and this one is $219.99. Now I've got a 15% off discount code in the bottom. You can use that. Let's get into both of these. Well, actually, to be honest, we're just going to look at the 2S Plus because they're both the same, and we'll use this remote as we go through. But if we look at a couple of the specs, it's an 8 kW unit, so it will put out some heat. It weighs about 25.1 pounds, so little beefy. It's 20.86 by 21.25 by 10.63 in size, so it's kind of like a suitcase or toolbox. It has a 5-liter fuel tank for diesel built into it, and it'll run either on 12 volt, 24 volt, or 110 AC. It's got some great features though. Love the suitcase design that it has. It's got an easy access interior that you can just open up and get inside of it very quickly. It's very fuel efficient. They say it's 36% higher than other manufacturers. I did some tests and got around 50 hours when it was on low. I did another diesel review just before this one that had a 5-liter tank, and they only got 37 hours. So you can kind of do the math. It's got 3-minute fast heating. So when you start this up to where it's producing the temperatures you want coming out of it, only three minutes. So that's very quick. It's got a mobile app. Again, it's got this wireless temperature sensor with the CO monitor built in. Quick disclaimer, always use a secondary CO device. At least I do in my tent. Don't rely just on this. I have something a little bit bigger. Just gives me the peace of mind. I've never had any issues, but do look at putting some 7. And secondly, it is very quiet. If you've ever done any other videos or looked at it being quiet and having either just a little bit of ticking or no ticking is what I'm looking for. I've done some in the past where these things sound like you're beating it with a hammer. So I'm looking for it to be very quiet. This one is quiet. It's got temperature control with this, so you can put this, say, up in your tent, put it at 70 degrees, and this thing will try to oscillate to get to that point in time. It doesn't completely shut off. It just goes into a low mode. It's got high altitude mode into it, so it will compensate all the way up to 18,000 feet where you're at. It's got an auto start stop. It's got schedules built into it, and then it's got a fan built into it. So what I want to do is I'm going to clean all this off and then get it ready, and we're going to do a walk around. We're going to check out the mobile app. We're going to start this thing up. We're going to do a low, medium, and high test, and then we're going to shut it down. While we're doing our test, we're going to see how many watts are being pulled from a Blue Eddy AC 180 power station. We're going to do 110 AC on this one. I've been doing DC on this, and I have never had an issue with the cigarette socket at 10 amp, but I've been getting a lot of people asking me, hey, what's it pulling on the AC side? So that's what we'll test today. We'll do some temperature readings at the outlet, what's coming out, put a decimal meter to it, how loud is this thing, and we'll check the airflow. And then we'll look at some results. Now, I've already done some pre-testing, and I got this thing ran on high for 16 hours and 40 minutes with 5 liters. of diesel. And then on low, it ran 50 hours and 1 minute on diesel. So I tell you what, let's flip this around and let me get all this stuff off of here. Let's do a walk around of the unit. So if we just take a look around this, you can see this is very much a suitcase setup. You can open it up and lift down, and you can see the engine, the exhaust down below, all the wiring, the intake, the exchange unit. We've got our 5-liter diesel tank here as well. We'd have our fuel cap here. All right, so this is a negative, by the way. This is a super, super cheap fuel cap. Now, the Max that I did recently had a little bit better one from them, but that is cheap. So that's kind of a knock on this awesome design. So this is great in that you can get into it. Now, with that said, there is no, and you can see the fuel pump is right down here. There is no insulation for if that thing's quiet or not. So if it's got some ticking, you're going to hear it immediately through these exhaust areas. If we just walk around, we've got our output here. This is 3.5 inches wide. We've got our exhaust. Some people love these being together and having this on the front versus the side or the bottom. Some people don't. So this won't be for everybody. Again, you've got some vents here, and it's got this beefy handle, and then it's got this great remote that'll tell you everything you need to know. Outside temperature, it'll give you ppms on your CO2. You can control everything from here. It's nice. You've got an air intake. Again, some people like these, especially if this is going to be stationary. They may be running a very much longer tube of this outside to get fresh air. Same with the exhaust. And then again, we've got our AC or DC input here for power, and then we've got our display here. We'll probably use the mobile app for everything, but there is a display. It's pretty easy to use on here. And then, you know, once you've got it up and running, you can just turn it on or off. That's kind of the unit itself. It does come with some tubing, an exhaust, an air filter. It's got the cheap muffler that comes with it, some brackets. It does have an extension, so if you want to move the display around, you can. You got your DC connector right here. Usually I will cut these off and make use a cigarette lighter. You got a fuel filter, or strainer I would say, some brackets, a diffuser on the end, and again, the AC piece here. We're gonna have this hooked up to the AC 180, and we'll kick that off. All right, before we start turning everything off, I wanted to go through their mobile app really quick. Now, Hcalory does have their own mobile app. Some other manufacturers, they all use some other Chinese brand mobile apps that everyone uses. Hcalory has their own, and it's very easy to use. It doesn't do a lot, but it does enough, and it's very, very simple. So if we just look at how we're starting off here, at the front, I've got 2 Hcalories, and right now it's connected to this one. And if I just click on it, it lets me know that I am in standby mode, or we got 0 on our ppms for our CO2 monitoring. And right now it's ready for us to turn it on. But if we hit the upper right-hand corner, we can go in here and set some thresholds if we want. If we want to set a threshold for the CO2 warning, we can. If we want to change our password, or we want to change the unit from one characteristic to another, in this particular case, I don't want meters on my height that we're at above sea level. I'm going to change that to feet, but I'm going to leave it at Fahrenheit, which is where I was. We can switch our languages. We can set up timers if we want to, like a custom timer when it's going to start and stop. Maybe I want it starting every day at 5 a.m. if I've got this like in my workshop and that's where I'm at, and maybe I'm not traveling around like I typically do. So we can set up timers. But in this particular case, we're going to turn this thing on. Oh, by the way, I can just have it turn on as a blower, just to blow air. I've got manual mode, which is what we're going to use. I have also got a temperature mode, which I can use this. In my last video I did for this particular one right here, the Max, I did an in-depth review of this remote. And we put it in like a cooler and everything else, trying to get the temperature to come down and get the temperature to go up and down on how this works. So pretty good stuff there, but we're just going to do manual mode today, and then we're going to set this up for a low, medium, and high on settings 1, well, I guess 5 and 10, or 3 and 6. I forget which one it has, but we're just going to go with a low, medium, and high. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on. So we'll go to heating. We'll say we want to activate the device, and now it is turning on. You can hear it say gear ignition, and you can hear it starting. And that's kind of it for the mobile app. I'm going to get around on the other side, and we're going to look at some watts And we're going to get this thing started up and look at what the cycle for it starting up is. All right, so this thing is starting up and it's pulling about 110 watts right now as it goes through its startup cycle. And you can see here on our remote, we're on heating 1. And it's just starting to go. In a minute, it'll start trying to prime itself. All right, you can hear the priming kicking in. All right, can really hear this thing starting up now. If you look down in there, you can actually see the fuel moving through the line. But it does have some ticking at the low states. Let's look at this started up and let it get into motion, and then we'll check out what the sound looks like. And right now, during the startup sequence, we're about 40 watts we're pulling now. So not too much off the battery. We'll continue to monitor this. All right, we've been running about 20 minutes now. We are on low. It's pretty quiet. You can see here in our piece, we're on H setting 1, which is just, we're in the temperature mode. So, but it's quiet. If I get down here, you can barely hear anything. There is a slight thumping if you get right next to it that you can hear out of the vents here. But other than that, it's pretty quiet. It doesn't feel that hot, but it's moving. So I tell you what we're going to do now is we're going to start taking some measurements and some other things. So let's start with the temperature measurement to start with. So if we look inside of our chamber here, what are we running at here? So on low, we're sitting about 200 degrees, 220, right in the center of that thing. And if we look at the exhaust right there, this is shiny, but it's about 120, somewhere in there. All right, so we're on a sound check now. It looks like we are running at 53 decibels. So not too bad. Let's just check the output of this guy. About 22 miles per hour. All right, we can do it only amp, or we can just come back here and ramp it up. In this case, we could go all the way up to 10 if we wanted to, but we're just going to put it at 5. And so you can hear it kicking in and going up. So this is going to start heating itself up. Let's give this like 10 minutes, and then we'll do a medium test and see what these temperatures are. All right, a couple notes here. We are on setting 5 on our mobile app, and it's 450 degrees at the aluminum body temperature inside of here, so that's pretty hot actually. And it is blowing a lot hotter now. And if we look here, we're at 25 watts being pulled, 20 to 25. I forgot to do this when we had low. We were sitting at 14 watts when we were on low. So let's go ahead and take a temperature reading on the center, and we are about, that's hot, about 300 degrees. Coming out of there, if we look at our sound check, we're about 60 degrees, 60 decibels. Somewhere in there, 60, 61. And I can't hear any ticking whatsoever. Maybe if I put my hand on here, I can feel it a little, but I can't hear anything. And if we look at airflow, we're about 34 miles per hour, 34 point somewhere in there. So, with that said, let's take this thing and crank it up on high. We did it off the keypad before. Let's do this on the mobile app. So we're here, we're just going to take this, and we're going to go all the way up to 10, and you'll hear this thing start ramping up. Yeah, it's really kicking in now. So, and also kicking up on the watts now. We're getting up in the 30s. So let's let this go for 10 minutes, and then we'll come and do some more readings on high. All right, we've been on high for about 10 minutes. And you see we're pulling anywhere from 32, 36, sometimes getting up to 40. If we look in our internal here, we're sitting at 450 degrees internally and 78 degrees outside at ambient temperature. But it's coming, and it's warm. So if we look at our temperature reading, we are somewhere 325, 330, somewhere in there. That's hot too. And if we take a quick decibel reading, 65-ish, so very, very quiet, I will say. You can hear the blower though. And then we are at 42 miles per hour coming out of that. So it's a pretty good test, I will say. This is running on high, it's blowing heavy, but it's quiet. I mean, I'm down here, you can't hear any ticking whatsoever. Now, when it was on low, there was a slight ticking that went with that. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and put it into a shutdown mode. Now, it is very, very important that you shut these things down, not by pulling the power, but actually let them shut down. They burn up all the crap inside and get all the gunk out of there. So they'll go through a shutdown sequence. You will see a spike on the power station when they do go into a shutdown sequence. So let's go ahead and start this up on our mobile app. And all I'm going to do is just click on heating. It's going to ask me if I want to deactivate. I'm going to say yes. And it will start slowing down. You can kind of hear it. You get a message here, the device is shutting down, do not power off. This process lasts for a few minutes. So it's come down, but also we got a spike up here. Now we're well above 100 watts. So let's go through its shutdown sequence. It usually takes a couple minutes. Well, I got to tell you what, I am so impressed with Hcalory and the products they do. From the Max that we did before, one of my early videos of the year, we're spraying it down. It's watertight and water resistant and waterproof, and it can sit out in the snow. To these Toolbox units here that are built more like a suitcase. Very impressive that they upgraded all the technology in here. Now we got our wireless temperature sensor with this as well. So that was a good set of tests. This thing's still going through its shutdown sequence a little bit. You can kind of hear it going back and forth as it's shutting down. And it's just going through it. Anyway, so hey, obviously when you do these testing, you do have some pros and cons. You know, one of the pros is the price. It's either $249 or $219, and then I've got an additional 15% discount you can have in there for this 2S or 2S Plus. 2S Plus is what we've been testing today with the remote. If you don't care about the remote, just go with the smaller one. You can just control everything from the mobile app or from the display on the back. It's pretty simple. So that's one of my pros. The design of this is just very innovative how they've done this. I really, really like this kind of toolbox. Gives you the ability to strap things around. It's got a great handle. It's very sturdy, very fuel efficient. So when we looked at our results, when we were on low, all the way at the bottom, this was able to go 50 hours in 1 minute. Very, very efficient. And then we went 16 hours and 40 minutes wide open. The mobile app, I think it has a great mobile app. I like that they designed their own mobile app. They're not looking at third-party companies to do that for them. Love that it can do 12 or 24 volts DC or 110 AC. It's got a great blower. I mean, when we were on high, we were up at 42 miles per hour coming out of there. Love the fast start. This thing kicks in and it's producing heat in 3 minutes. And this is pretty revolutionary, this remote with a CO sensor in it as well as a temperature sensor. And it's got a USB-C for recharging it. And with everything, there are some cons. This did have a small amount of ticking when it was all the way on low. If I got next to it, I could hear it. Well, I could hear it from about a 5-foot radius. So that is one. This fuel cap, I gotta be honest with you. I was expecting something a little bit better. On the Max, they have a much better fuel cap, this leak resistance. This is just kind of old school. I would be concerned about this sloshing around. So that is a con. If it's just sitting there stationary and you're not moving around like I do with the overlanding and the rooftop tent camping, it's not a big deal. And my last part is it's a little top heavy. A lot of the weight up here, especially when you have it filled up with the 5 liters of diesel, it's top heavy and it can sway. Like obviously it's got some sensors built into it, but you will need to strap it down if your host, however you have it set up. So just be aware of that. But I do think all of the other characteristics outweigh that, and the price is great on this. So again, $249.99 with the one with the temperature, $219.99 on Amazon without this particular remote. It's got the cheaper remote. Both of them work with the app. I only use the app, to be honest. I throw this up in the tent and let it sit over to the side for the temperature pieces. And again, there's a 15% off discount code in the description as well. But I'm pretty happy with Hcalory. They're doing a lot of great things there. I would recommend them. But hey, if you got any value out of this, please click that like button. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click that bell to be notified when we got new content out. Again, thank you for your time. This is a little longer video than I typically do. Everybody have a great day.